that's a good subject, though. That's a very good topic, and that's something that maybe you could work on too. You know, that bring to the board's attention that, you know.
Well, we are going to start looking at efficiencies.
Good.
We are doing this.
Well, this is good.
We're just
because it needs it.
We're just taking care of what needs to be taken care of first.
Yeah.
And you know, working budgets and finances are taking up a huge amount of time right now, and it has to. But we do have lots of discussion about other things we're planning to look at.
Good. Now, let's get on the topic of budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you being just new, fresh into this, okay, walking into a budget like that, what was your first initial thought when there's a big deficit? What was like, are you kidding me? Or what did you think? Because there is a deficit, obviously. Oh, yes. It's not a big one.
You know, I walked in and I expected a deficit.
But that much?
I was expecting it to be more. From what I've heard and what information was available to the general membership, you know, I was really expecting it to be more. But what's disappointing, and I still haven't got it all figured out yet, and I know I'm frustrating all the budget people, because I asked them a lot of questions, the same questions. How are we going to pay for this? Where is this money coming from? And what's been really frustrating to me are the conversations where people are saying, well, the managers have asked for too much, or these budgets have been added to. You know, I'm hearing things that, for me, aren't good enough. When I was told, when we first got that deficit budget in front of us, I was very much against passing that, because I was told by the board, by the chair, not to worry about it because the savings are all there and they can be done in just a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks, they're all there, we'll have a balanced budget. And I said, then why are we passing a deficit budget? Why are we doing this? If you know where these savings are, then let's do them now. Let's give our people a balanced budget to begin with, if it's that easily done. Well, it turns out it wasn't so easily done, but we did do it with that very first budget. I can't remember, was it 3.9 that we started with?
I think it was 5.7, wasn't it?
I think it was 3.9 is what we started with. Okay. But we did it, and we found that by identifying savings and meeting with directors and saying, what can you do without? And a lot of vacant jobs that weren't filled, that were still in the budget, you know, those kinds of things made good sense to take out. But it was just amazing to me how it grew to this point. And when you're looking back and you're hearing the story of how it got this far, that doesn't make good sense to me. And it really makes me question people who were in positions before and how. So I was surprised that we allowed it to go this far. Then when we had our insurance person come in and tell us that we had another $2.9 million that we had to come up with after we had balanced the budget, I asked her, how can you wait this long and now be telling us this? It's 3 months to the end of the year. You didn't see this coming? Well, you know, I didn't mean to be quite so hard on her, because apparently she had brought it to the previous board. They knew it was coming. Those are the kinds of things that, to me, don't make sense, are maddening, because we're spending lots of time when we should be focusing on moving forward, just cleaning up.
That's what I said.
Fixing things. Yep. And that's frustrating.
And actually that's what I had said to a lot of people, that, you know, I mean, these new board members that are coming in have no clue. And when they find out, they're just going to be in awe. Because
but one of the things that's good, though, is it being new, is that we don't accept that that's the way it's always been.
Yes.
We're able to say, so?
Yes.
How are we going to fix it? We're not going to keep repeating what we've done before. That's the definition of insanity. You know, if you're going to keep doing this and expect it to change, what?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I'm new, because I'm not affected by what took place before. I might ask I might ask some naive questions. I might ask some uncomfortable questions. But I'm glad that I've got a fresh outlook.
Well, good.
Because
I'm glad.
You know, and it really wasn't this woman's fault, you know, that she's bringing it to us 3 months until it's due. She'd been trying to tell people all along, and no one would listen. And it was explained to me, oh, she really was trying. Well, okay, but why are we hearing about it now?
Yeah.
Why wasn't it taken care of before? And you know,
I
that's
think Aaron touched
difficult.
on that too, because he walked into, you know, somebody saying they were out of the red. You know, there was no deficit and this and that, and we did good all these 4 years that Aaron wasn't in. But what he walked into was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I can't tell you how many times I've said, "Are you kidding me?"
That's what he said. It's like, you're just telling us this now? He was in the same boat with you, but he said, with the board, you know, long hours and saying, well, we can cut this, we can cut this, has to be cut because to balance his budget out. You know, and then we'll work on paying these big ticket items if it has to go, but we're going to have to come up with money. That's what he said.
Right. It's not like it's optional.
Yeah. I mean, he's, from interviewing him, he was here till like, I would say, what, 9 o'clock? He was exhausted. You know, and I asked him, like, how can you even sleep at night? You know, how can you sleep at night knowing this is all in the...
I'll tell you how we're sleeping.
I could not do it.
The sleep comes from exhaustion. There are lots of nights that I'm sitting up, racking my brain, asking, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? Because all of us, you know, and I really can't speak for the board, but in being there, we seem to, everyone wanted to agree to not have to cut jobs. We don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Some of the big ticketed jobs that have all these assistants upon assistants, I say get rid of them.
Well, there's lots
get rid of them.
There's duplications and things like stuff that I'm talking about. I just shake my head and say, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I'm getting, people are starting to laugh at me because I say that, but they're right, that's right, Jen, that's right. And I'm
like Aaron said, he said there's a lot being said. You know, we're out of the deficit, we're out of the hole. A lot of people could say that we're out of the red, but guess what? He said, folks, we're not. We're not. Far from it. And he says the more I dig into this, he said it's the worst it's getting right now. And that's what he's got to do. He's just got to dig, because you don't want like these surprises like the Blue Cross and Blue Shield coming up on you and biting you in the rear, you know, and just saying, now what do we do? You know what I mean? Okay, with that being said, now the budget is passed. You guys all work to pass it, but you still have things to work on it. Am I correct?
Oh yes.
Yes. So, but with these big ticketed items, you're still kind of worried about that a little bit.
I'm worried about it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the chairman has a plan, a vision, if you will, of what he wants to see and how he wants to see things go. And a lot of that stuff makes such good sense. You know, and there's good reasons for it, and we talk about it, and it makes good sense, but I'm not sure how we're going to be able to do that.
You gotta know something about Aaron, and I'll tell you a little bit about Aaron. I know you know him. But Aaron will not spend a penny unless he has to. I'm not kidding you. He's got holes in the shoes right now. You think he's going to go buy another pair? No, he's that conservative. But he does like things in order. Like, as long as I've known him, I mean, as long as I've known him, he's not just at that board, just knowing him in person. He likes things laid out where he can see it, no surprises. Now, what he's gathering now, and what you're gathering, you know, he's only got to bring it to you guys to say, okay, look at folks, here's another surprise, you know. How do you deal with that? I mean, like, do you just like, what do you say? What are you thinking? When all this deficit's coming up to you, and all these bills.
Well, you know, it's, you look at how. You know, I try not to spend too much time right now looking back and saying, we did this and it.
Yeah.
We don't have time for that. It
Absolutely.
doesn't do any,
Yeah.
it doesn't help the situation. So what
But
we've been
looking
doing,
back a little bit, maybe looking back to see how you got there would help a little bit, for you won't have to do it again.
well, it does help that we don't keep repeating the same process. And one of the things that's frustrating to me is even the process of how we review the financials. That's everybody who's sitting at that board has the ability to read the financials. And this is no criticism against Aaron, there's no criticism against any individuals, but I am going to be critical of the process. They have them printed out on papers, they project them on the wall, then they come in and they read them to us. Employees are sitting piled up out in the hallway, waiting for their turn to come in. I'm asking, why are we doing this? Why don't we let those people go back to their desks? Let's look at the printed forms, and let's discuss it as a board, and if we have questions, then let's bring those people in. Why are we doing this? Why do we have 8 people or so sitting outside this door waiting to be called in to present their part? It doesn't make sense.
Oh,
and that's one of the other things that I was told, well, this is how we've always done it. And I said, so?
Well, this is maybe something that you could work on and put up and say this is how it should be done, and maybe I'll vote on it, because
well, and I've talked about it with Aaron. I said, why are we doing this like this?
Well, Aaron's got so much problem.
He said, well, this is how we've always done it. And I go,
well, it's probably not always what he's doing, but it's just like,
but it's what people know, and it's what they do, and I think that sometimes for expediency, they just, all right, call a financial meeting, and everybody goes in and does these things. But in my mind, that's a lot of money sitting outside the door waiting. People who could be back at their desks working, and I believe it slows the process down.
Yeah.
When we have to wait all day.
Yeah.
I waited 3 days, I think it was, before I finally got my answer. What's the bottom number? They wouldn't give it to me until everybody had their chance to go through.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because we need to move a little quicker than that when it's not going to add anything for us to go slowly.
Yeah.
Being read to isn't going to add anything to us. Let us look at it, talk as a board, get our questions, because someone on the board might be able to answer it as well.
Did you bring this up to a suggestion on the board? This would be much easier to do it this way?
Oh, they know I don't like that process.
And what was their reaction to it? This is what we've always done?
Partly, but I think that they agree that there needs to be a better way. But I think that we're in such an overdrive mode right now that we have to get this done, that there might be concern that if we change the procedures right now, that things will get missed. You know, I don't know what the reason is. I've talked about it with Aaron. I would rather give me the financials ahead of time and let us meet and explain it. And then if we have questions, I mean, all those people are within minutes of coming up to the 3rd floor and answering our questions.
And maybe he'll do that then.
We got an email today about more financials, and I'm going to suggest that to him.
Yeah.
How about we let these folks stay at their desks, and if we have questions, we can ask them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So maybe something will change.
But that's an example of the process. This is what they've always done, and it doesn't make good sense to me.
Well, that's
everybody sitting at that board knows how to read those.
Yeah. Well, then that's good. That's something you can maybe change.
And it's a small thing, but it's really reflective of how things are done, and our processes need to be reevaluated. That may have been great back when there were 2 people to answer all the financial questions. We're huge now. We need to do better.
Yeah. Well, good. So that process was going to be kind of a long, drawn-out, scary situation until everything is over with Okay, let's get on to the Constitution now. Okay. All right. Now, I was there that day. Mr. Menard was giving his presentation. They were given an extra 3 months to get this stuff pulled together, what changes needed to be made, but that the board wasn't happy with too, and get it taken out, changed, done something. And they all agreed, and they were all there, and they all voted on it. They would do that. Okay, we've got about 2 weeks left. And first of all, are you for the Constitution? I know you worked on it. I know you worked hard on it. So you've got to be for it because you worked on something that you believe in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You believe in the Constitution. Do you believe in this Constitution? And
Yes.
do you believe separation of powers?
Absolutely. A resounding yes on separation of powers. That
Well,
was the
why don't
first
you
thing
look
that
at
we
the
tried
camera
out.
and tell them folks that you, this is Jennifer.
All
Do
right.
you believe in the Constitution, this new one that's being put forward?
Let me put a caveat in there. I believe that a new Constitution needs to come forward. I do not believe that this is a perfect document. And I've said that right along the day that we put it in. It's not a perfect document, but it is so much better than what we've had. I have one concern that was brought up that we didn't know about when we were working on this Constitution, and that was the economic impact in terms of the banks of what this could do to us. And as a new board member, I'm still not real clear on what that means. The banks have a requirement for us to have a certain amount in EBITDA and things like that, and I'm not exactly sure what those amounts are. This new Constitution needs to be evaluated in terms of that. How is that going to impact our tribe's financial abilities? Will the bank, will that put us in violation of agreements that we have with the banks? When that was brought up, I went, oh, we never talked about that. When we worked on that document, we never talked about that. But that new Constitution is a product of 29 people starting out, and lots of people who came and had input, and we tried to look at that document inside out and backwards, at the past, the present, and the future, especially the future. People brought in scenarios, well, what ifs, or this person has done this to us in the past, how do we fix it? I'm proud of that document. I think it's a good document. I support that document. But I've got new knowledge now about our banking systems, and we really need somebody to tell us how is this document going to affect our ability to do banking. That's a level of finance I haven't been involved with. When we did the Constitution, we didn't have anyone come in and explain that to us. For example, the one part in there where we're saying a certain percentage needs to be kept, I forget what the amounts are, but it needs to be kept and never touched so that the interest will grow. That might be a violation of an agreement that we have with the banks who take care of our cash flow. That would be irresponsible for us to just say, we have to pass this when we know that could be a problem. We have to make sure that putting a document in like this, while we're trying to ensure the rights of our people and give us a better way of governance, that we don't cause harm by it at the same time.
Okay.